The heavy scent of roasted garlic and expensive wood smoke clung to the air the moment I stepped inside the restaurant. I had driven 40 minutes under the illusion of a quiet reconciliation, a small family dinner to mend 3 years of icy silence. Instead, as the hostess led me toward the private alcove at the back, the unmistakable sound of my Aunt Linda's screeching laughter echoed over the low hum of the dining room. My stomach instantly clenched into a tight, familiar knot, signaling that I had walked straight into an ambush. There were 16 people packed around a long, white-clothed table already covered in empty appetizer plates, half-eaten oysters, and 3 premium bottles of Cabernet. My sister Brooke sat near the center, swiping on her phone while my father, Raymond, reigned at the head of the table like a king at a feast. When his eyes met mine, there was no apology, no tearful embrace, and no acknowledgement of the years we had lost. He simply raised his glass of imported wine, grinned at the crowd, and delivered the punchline he had clearly been preparing all evening. "You are paying for this, right? You owe us at least this much after everything." To understand how 16 people ended up ordering the most expensive items on the menu on my non-existent tab, you have to understand my history. I am 32, and I manage operations for a regional restaurant group, a demanding job that has earned me a comfortable, quiet life but certainly not wealth. For over a decade, I was the designated savior of the family, the one who quietly covered car repairs, paid utility bills, and financed my sister's whims. I had conditioned them to view my hard work as their personal safety net, a vending machine fueled by their manufactured guilt. 3 years ago, Brooke demanded I co-sign a $75,000 business loan for a trendy cafe she had no realistic plan to run. When I refused to risk my financial future on a whim, my father stood up, pointed at the door, and told me that if I would not help the family, I was no longer a part of it. They blocked my number, removed me from the group chats, and treated me like a criminal for finally setting a boundary. Yet, when my mother texted out of the blue, claiming she wanted to heal our bond over a quiet dinner with just the 4 of us, I let my guard down. I sat in the only empty chair at the very end of the table, directly opposite my father, feeling completely detached from the theatrical display around me. A young waiter named Toby rushed over, his eyes wide with the frantic energy of a server trying to manage a massive, demanding party single-handedly. I looked at the feast before me, noting the Wagyu sliders, the lobster tails, and the premium wine labels, calculating the cost with the practiced ease of an operations manager. My family was performing a grand show of wealth they did not possess, using my presence to validate their extravagance. My father waved Toby over with a theatrical flourish, tossing his credit card onto the silver tray with a loud declaration that everything should be charged to him because we were celebrating. I watched him closely, noting the frayed collar of his shirt and the rusted dent on his truck parked outside, realizing this was a calculated game of chicken. They wanted to humiliate me, to make me feel small for succeeding, while fully expecting me to step in and rescue them from the massive bill they were actively running up. The passive-aggressive remarks started flowing as freely as the wine, with Aunt Linda loudly commenting on how nice it must be to live so high on the hog while others struggled. Cousin Tyler chimed in with a smirk, asking how I slept at night knowing I had abandoned my own flesh and blood during their difficult times. I sat quietly, sipping my single glass of sparkling water, the only item I had actually ordered, while they devoured hundreds of dollars of gourmet food. Toby returned to refill my water, giving me a sympathetic glance that told me he recognized the toxic dynamic unfolding at the table. I leaned back, watching my father preen as he ordered another round of top-shelf tequila for the table, fully confident that his trap had closed around me. He believed my guilt would force me to take the bill, just as I had done dozens of times before in my 20s. I signaled Toby with a tiny nod, whispering a brief request as he leaned down to clear my water glass, setting a silent counterplay into motion. "Toby, please run my father's card for the current balance right now, and let me know the result privately." The collapse of the house of cards. 10 minutes later, Toby returned to the alcove, his face pale as he walked straight to my father and cleared his throat, holding the leather bill presenter. In a polite but clear voice that carried across the sudden hush of the table, Toby explained that the card had been declined for insufficient funds. My father's face flushed a deep, violent crimson as he began to stammer, claiming there must be a mistake and demanding they run it again. The illusion of their grand celebration shattered instantly, exposing the desperate financial reality they had tried so hard to hide. I stood up slowly, smoothing down my black trousers, and looked at the 16 faces staring back at me in sudden, desperate panic as they realized the free ride was over. I placed a $20 bill on the table to cover my sparkling water and Toby's tip, looking my father dead in the eye without a single shred of anger. "I only ordered water, and I am only paying for water. Have a wonderful evening, everyone." I turned and walked out of the restaurant, the heavy glass doors closing behind me, leaving them to divide a $2,000 bill they could not afford. For the first time in my life, the silence did not feel like a punishment, it felt like absolute, beautiful freedom.